Hey people, so fourth shift this week. I can't lie, I didn't really want to come in today. I felt tired and I'm working tomorrow, night shift, but I've got a really nice lady who's just been administered the epidural, but I'll give you more information about it soon. So I've got a lovely lady who is much calmer and happier now that she's got the epidural. But yeah, I'll tell you about her. This is actually going to be her third baby, but she had something that we noted was that she had a previous case of sepsis postnatally. So we just need to keep our eye on her, especially after, well, of course during labor, but after she has the baby, checking her temperature for any signs of sepsis. And sepsis is a life-threatening thing, basically where the body is fighting against itself. It's fighting against an infection. I'll state some things about sepsis here, so you can have a read about it as well. So she was induced, as she's actually 40+1, so induced for post-dates. She had a propes in, and then she just actually started. So propes was the method of induction, and then she actually just started to develop and progress very quickly. So when we met her, she was actually 5 centimeters, and she actually had her waters broken for her just a few hours before our shift. We met her and she was requesting for the epidural. She was in pain, and I just was encouraging her and telling her to keep breathing through her contractions and use the gas and air to give her pain relief, because she was like, it's not working. I said, leave it in your mouth. Do your breathing, long breaths in and out, because she was breathing very fast, like so fast. So I just showed her how to do it properly, and it kind of actually did help. At the time she wanted the epidural, but the doctors were actually doing handover, so we just informed her that we won't be able to give her the epidural as of yet, but we'll let the anaesthetist know so that they know to come to her. Also, the fact that she's progressed so quickly, I don't know, like, I'm not too sure about it, but she's requesting it, so that's what we're gonna do. So yeah, so we took her observations, everything was fine, changed her pads, we saw clear liquid draining, no meconium, nothing of concern, all normal. But to help us pick up baby's heart rate better, we actually inserted a stand clip, which is a clip that's put onto baby's head. This goes under, it's very superficial, under the skin of baby's head, and it helps us pick up an ECG trace of baby's heart. So after the stand clip was in, I actually asked her if she wants to change position, and she went onto her side left lateral position, because I noticed that she's on her bum, and being on your bum doesn't really help you to cope with contractions. It's kind of like the worst position, because baby's descending and you're reducing, nothing to worry about, and you're reducing the space of baby in the pelvis as well, and you're just on your bum. And I don't know, I just feel like she's been in that position for a long time. She wanted to change position as well, so she was in left lateral. Then the anaesthetist actually arrived and got her into position, sitting on the bed, her arms hunched over like that, squeezing onto a pillow as they administered her epidural through her back. And basically, when her contractions came, she could still use the gas and air, but just not moving so much, as she's got an injection in her back. And after that was done, I done her blood pressures to make sure everything is okay. So the next thing that happened was we conducted her examination. And in her examination, as soon as with her consent, of course, also we had put a catheter in, but the urine that was draining was concentrated, and the catheter was put in after we assessed the last time she went to the toilet, and as she had the epidural in as well. Because the heavier your legs get, the more you can't move as much. How are you going to get to the toilet? Do you know what I mean? So that's just something that we do, but it doesn't have to be put in straight away with the epidural. So the examination, after I inserted my fingers to examine her, I felt a hard structure on this side, and that kind of threw me off because it was too small to be a head. But I was so confused at what it is. Later when I realized it was the balloon from the catheter, because basically the catheter is held in by a balloon. So you pump 10 mils of saline into the catheter, and it basically inflates like a balloon inside the urethra to hold the catheter in place. So, and the catheter is the urine bag, if you don't know. So it was the catheter I felt, but I felt very hard. It was very weird. So I went further up and the baby's head was quite high up, but I couldn't feel cervix. I knew say she wasn't fully dilated or 10 centimeters dilated, which could have been a possibility, but she didn't feel like she was, but I just couldn't feel the cervix. So after the midwife done the examination, she said to me that, yeah, it was a difficult one. I didn't feel the cervix because it's fully effaced, which means that it's basically thinned out. There's no length to it anymore. So in my previous examination, the cervix was like 2 centimeters long, so I could proper feel it. This one, it was fully effaced. And she said she basically went around the head and she went up to the woman's pubic bone. I don't have the pelvis here to show you, but she said it's very uncomfortable and painful if you don't have the epidural. But what she did was at the pubic bone, it's like she was like digging sounds harsh, like you're trying to peel something off. So she was like peeling off the cervix from the baby's head, basically. And she said, yeah, there's no length to it, it's very thin, but she could feel like 2 centimeters width of it. So she confirmed that the lady is 8 centimeter dilated. But yeah, that is what's happening so far. I'll keep you posted. Hopefully we're gonna have a baby today. We've been doing lots of CTG reviews and I'm learning how to interpret CTGs even more than I was. And what was happening was baseline actually kept increasing, which I didn't even realize was a huge thing. But she was like, and also because the woman's temperature was gradually increasing in labor too, she said that it could be possibly an indication of chorioamnioitis. These guys had to end that real quick, go on my break and eat and come back, but I've got a bit more time now. Talking about chorioamnioitis, which was indicated, possibly an indicator from the rise in baseline of the fetal heart rate. And what that is infection of the amniotic fluid and the placenta. But baseline has been going back to normal, so that is not really something we're too worried about, but we'll see how it goes. And my break is kind of over. I might be going back and checking on mum. We've got an examination due in about half an hour. We'll see how far along she is and what we're going to do next. So that's essentially the plan of care. Oh, and before I go back, let me tell you guys about 3 kind of features of a contraction that I was learning about today. So there can be coupling, where contraction is basically the contractions are coming like together, like in couples. Resting tone is the time between contractions, when they're not contracting anymore, they're able to rest between the contractions. And spaced contractions is when there are long gaps between contractions. And essentially I knew this already, of course, but I didn't actually use the right terminology. So if you don't know, resting tone, coupling, and spaced contractions is important terminology to use when describing a contraction. But yeah, I'll see y'all later. Hey guys, my shift is over, but I can't leave you without telling you what happened on the rest of the shift. So I came back from my break and went to check on my lady, and she was speaking about feeling some pressure and then also feeling some pain on her right side. So I informed her that we will be giving her an examination soon, and in regards to the pain that she was feeling, does it come and go? Is it there all the time? And I realized that she's feeling pain on one side of her body and not on the other side. So what I informed her to do was to lay on the side that she was feeling the pain in order so that the epidural can go in that direction, because I realized her epidural was going in the one direction. I didn't mention before, but at some point we had got her to sit upright. So we made the bed into a chair position, and her legs were very heavy from this epidural. So we informed her to also stop topping up the dose, as the epidural that we have actually gives you some of the medication. But when you press it, it actually tops up the dose even more. This was making her legs very heavy. So yeah, the position that she was in was called the throne position, with her sitting upright, the back of the bed up, and then also her legs, the bottom of the bed down, so her legs are like bent, as in she's sitting on a chair, to help with the descent of the fetus. And we had also inserted a peanut ball, because peanut balls help to open up the pelvis as well. Okay guys, so this is the position the baby was in. The head tilted to the side. We couldn't tell where the fontanelles were really, and it was a very difficult examination. Eventually we found out that the occiput was transversal on the right side. This was confirmed by a bedside scan. We had to create a plan to get baby to turn into a better position. So the plan of care after this involved administering syntocinon as a hormone drip in order to increase her contractions, as her contractions had actually spaced out. They were still like 4 contractions in 10 minutes, where they had spaced out, so increase her contractions and their strength in order to help turn the baby. We also tried side position. Over time, the baby wasn't really liking the side position and the baseline was really rising. So we changed the Synto. Basically with Synto, you can increase it every 30 minutes if you feel like the contractions need to be more consistent and stronger, or you can leave it, or you can decrease it if necessary. And at one point we had to decrease it because she was contracting 5 times in 10 minutes and the baby didn't like it. When we saw that the baseline was rising or there were decelerations and stuff, what we did was we changed mum's position or we decreased the Synto. So we looked at the whole overview of what was happening. Her urine output was quite bad, and as I said, when I did the examination, I could feel the catheter balloon. So the catheter was taken out and inserted again in order to insert it above the baby's head, because as the baby was further down, the catheter balloon was underneath the baby's head, kind of in the way. So it took technique, and the midwife actually did this. The urine output was still not great. So when urine output's not good and you've got a catheter and you've even got a urometer and you've got fluids and you're encouraging the lady to drink, and we took all of these steps and she was drinking, what you can do is take some bloods, take her urea and electrolytes. That is the yellow bottle. When you check that, it checks the kidney function. So just making sure that her kidneys are working correctly, making sure she doesn't have a kidney injury. In that examination, I didn't even tell you how dilated she was. She was 10 centimeters, guys, fully dilated, and given 2 hours for passive descent of the fetal head because she had the epidural in. That actually took me to the end of my shift. I was tempted to stay longer, but I don't know how long it would have taken. I don't think it would be long, but I've got a night shift tomorrow and I thought it's wiser if I go home and sleep, even though I'm in the library. But yeah, that was essentially my shift. It was a pleasure looking after her all day. Didn't get a baby, but it's all good. We need 100 cases of labour care, of intrapartum care anyway, and I got a case of intrapartum care, so I'm grateful for it. Another thing I learned before I go is that if a woman's blood group is negative, cord blood is needed from the cord to check what baby's group would be as well. Because let's say baby's positive and some of baby's blood has gone into the bloodstream, that could potentially be harmful for the next baby the woman is to have. That's a bit complicated. I don't know if it's too long, but I'll explain it in another video. Or if you want to know, comment down below and I'll explain it. But yeah, good night. See you tomorrow in my night shift.